Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into the biggest debate in tech, the ultimate flagship phone battle. We've got three heavyweight contenders in the ring, but really, only one of them is going to be the perfect match for you. So, here's the big question: Pixel, iPhone, or Galaxy? Look, they're all amazing phones, but they're built on totally different ideas. Are you after the smartest phone, the one that's the smoothest, or the one that can do absolutely everything? Let's figure it out. All right, first up in the ring is Google's Pixel 10 Pro XL. Google is really proud of this one, calling it their most premium design ever. You know the look, that signature camera bar. But the real story here is the heavy focus on AI that works right on the phone. We're talking smarts that don't even need an internet connection. Next, we have Apple's contender, the iPhone 17 Pro Max. The big headline here? It's the strongest iPhone ever. It's got this new forged aluminum body and something called Ceramic Shield 2 glass. Basically, it's built like a tank and promises some seriously raw performance that, gamers and creative types are just gonna love. And rounding out our lineup, we have Samsung's absolute powerhouse, the Galaxy S25 Ultra. It keeps that Ultra tradition going with a design that's surprisingly sleek for how huge it is. It's got that S Pen tucked right inside and a whole suite of features that are just built for getting stuff done. Okay, so let's get right into this showdown. We're gonna break it down into a few rounds: design, power, cameras, and of course software before we get to the final verdict. So first up, let's talk about design and display. Round one is all about those first impressions. How do these phones actually feel when you hold them? And more importantly, how good are the screens we spend all day staring at? So if we look at the displays, one thing really jumps out at you, and that's the brightness battle. I mean, the Pixel's 3300 nits technically gives it an edge, especially if you're trying to read something in direct sunlight. But let's be honest, you really can't go wrong with any of these. All three screens are incredibly sharp, buttery smooth, and just a total joy to look at. And speaking of that premium feel, the Galaxy S25 Ultra is getting some serious praise. Even though it's got this massive 6.9-inch screen, Samsung managed to slim down the edges, so it feels way sleeker than you'd expect. It just perfectly balances that big screen experience with a really elegant design. Okay, now let's pop the hood. This round is all about the engine room, the processors that make these phones fly, and the batteries that have to keep them running all day long. Now, if you just look at the numbers, the Pixel has the biggest battery. But this is a perfect example of why specs don't always tell the whole story. Apple and Samsung are absolute masters of efficiency. Thanks to how they tune their hardware and software, all three of these phones will easily get you through a full day of use, no problem. And when you do need to top up, the race is incredibly tight. The bottom line here, it doesn't really matter which phone you pick. A quick 20 or 30 minutes on the charger is going to give you more than enough juice to get you through the rest of your day. They are all crazy fast. What's really interesting is how different their approaches to performance are. Google's Tensor G5 chip is custom built for AI and machine learning stuff right on the device. Apple's A19 Pro is just an absolute monster. It leads the pack in raw speed and gaming. And then you have Samsung's Snapdragon 8 Elite, which is a true multitasking champion that just handles anything you throw at it without breaking a sweat. All right, let's get to what, for many people, is the main event, the camera battle. All three of these phones have pro-level cameras, but they have very different ideas about what makes a great photo. So, who takes the best pictures and videos? So Samsung's opening shot in this camera war is a massive 200-megapixel main sensor. And the whole point of that? To capture an absolutely insane amount of detail, especially when the lighting is good. And then there's the zoom. Both the Pixel and the Samsung can hit this mind-boggling 100x zoom, but how they get there tells you everything you need to know about their different strategies. Okay, so here's the key difference in how they approach this. The Pixel leans really heavily on its AI smarts. It builds this super res zoom on top of a single 5x optical lens. Samsung, on the other hand, uses a dual lens system. It's got both a 3x and a 5x, which gives it more actual hardware to work with for those super long distance shots. So what this all means is that the best camera really truly depends on what you care about. If you want beautiful, natural-looking portraits, it's a toss-up between the iPhone and the Pixel. For getting as close as possible, Samsung is the undisputed zoom champion. For video, the iPhone usually has the edge, while the Pixel's secret weapon is all that software magic it does. You know, a great phone is so much more than just a collection of hardware parts. It's really about the whole software experience. And this is the part where you're not just choosing a phone, you're kind of choosing an entire ecosystem. The Pixel's ace up its sleeve here is something called Gemini Nano. That's Google's AI model that runs directly on the phone itself. It powers these amazing features like Magic Compose, where it can rewrite your texts for you, or Live Translate, and it does it all without needing to connect to the cloud. And this really brings us to the classic debate, doesn't it? Do you prefer the wide-open freedom of Android, which you'll find on both the Pixel and the Samsung, where you can customize pretty much everything and choose your own default apps? Or do you lean towards Apple's famously polished, secure, and super tightly integrated iOS ecosystem? Okay, so after all those rounds, it's time to talk about the bottom line. Let's look at the price and the overall value to figure out which of these incredible phones is the right one for you. When it comes down to price, it's actually pretty close. The Pixel and the iPhone both kick off at $1,199 for the 256GB model. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra comes in just $100 more at $1,299. And you could argue it justifies that premium with its giant camera sensor and, of course, the S Pen that comes right in the box. So at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. There's no single best phone for everyone. There's only the best phone for you. If you live and breathe cutting-edge AI and want that pure, clean Android experience, the Pixel is your match. If you're all in on the Apple ecosystem or you're super serious about video, the iPhone is a total no-brainer. And if you just need a productivity beast with the best zoom you can get, well, the Galaxy is your champion. And that leaves us with just one final question. Is it the clever AI smarts of the Pixel, the seamless and powerful experience of the iPhone, or is it the do-it-all productivity and versatility of the Galaxy? The choice is all yours.